was like the perfect song, and you let us sing along. Now you're gone, but your spirit soars in our hearts forevermore.
Welcome to I Pressed On, taking the word depression and rearranging it to something more positive. Today, we have a wonderful guest with us. But before I introduce him, I want to say that I'm Brian Chrysagas, and this is Barbie Sagaris, and we are so thrilled you joined us. One of my favorite country groups of all time was the Judds. Mm-hmm. And the story of the Judds was always so intriguing to me because I have to watch everything they were ever on, everything they ever did. And then as I fell in love with both the mother and the daughter, Naomi and Winona, I started realizing who they were related to. And Naomi was married to this wonderful man who's a legend. He worked with Elvis Presley. He has done so much in his career, many recordings, many producing stuff. He's just an incredible man. And we have a lot to talk to him about. Yes. His name is Larry Strickland. Larry, thank you so much for being a guest on our show.
Welcome, Larry.
Yeah, thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Well, we're going to start with the question.
So I'm going to ask you, with all that you've done in your life, and could you share with us a little bit about the early days of your career, your professional career?
Well, I started out as a gospel singer. My dad, when I was a kid, took me to gospel quartet singings in around parts of North Carolina. And at a young age, I got really interested and intrigued by the quartet music and particularly the bass vocal. And so I was struck immediately and just started at a young age working on my voice and learning how to sing, and learning to hear harmonies. And then as I became a teenager, I then started singing with local quartets in and around Raleigh, North Carolina, and Fayetteville, North Carolina. And I spent my weekends doing that. And it was always my dream to be with a major touring group. And I didn't know I would ever make that happen. But one time we were singing, doing a concert, and the main headliner of the gospel show was a group called the Stamps Quartet, J.D. Sumner and the Stamps Quartet.
Yes.
And they heard me sing. And one of the guys took my phone number and said, we never know when we're going to need somebody. And at that time, they were Elvis's backup group. And their bass singer was Richard Sturman. Well, Richard left the Stamps to go with the Oak Ridge Boys, and they called me to audition, and that was in 1974. And so I got the job, and so the next thing I know, I'm on a bus on the road,
That's incredible.
singing in churches, and then my first gig with Elvis was Las Vegas. So you can imagine how bad that messed me up. To be with him and Vegas at the same time.
Wow.
Really turned my world upside down, of course.
What was it like to work with Elvis? If you could, what was he like?
He was just a really sweet man around us, particularly because he was such a fan of the gospel music and gospel quartets. And when he was young, he always wanted to be in a quartet.
Yes.
And so he loved. And
he listened to.
Yeah.
He listened to gospel music. Isn't that where he got some of his sound from?
Absolutely. Yeah. And he used to go to when he was a teenager, he would go to the gospel singings at the Ellis Auditorium in Memphis. And he would come back to the stage door, and J.D. Sumner would let him in the back door. And he'd come in and listen to the gospel singings. At that point, and he was still thinking he was going to be a gospel singer at some point. Good thing he didn't He didn't do that. He got another gig.
Yes.
But he always loved and respected the gospel music, and he
Mm-hmm.
loved and respected JD a lot, and the Stamps. And so whenever we were around, I mean, he couldn't have been sweeter or kinder, and couldn't do enough for us. You know, just such a
That's
generous, kind man.
That's awesome to hear. You know, I'm going to read this. It's estimated that 59.3 million Americans are diagnosed with some sort of mental illness. That says that there's 1 out of 5 that are walking around with some kind of mental illness. They were actually saying that it's actually growing more and more every year. And this is a very painful subject to talk on, but your beautiful wife, well, I was such a fan of hers, and my brother and I listened to the Judd's music all the time, and we just, every time we were going on road trips, we'd have to put in the Judds. We knew every song back and forth, but it was so painful for us, and it was a shock, not just to us, but to the whole world, what happened with Naomi. Would you mind sharing a little bit of what led up to that and what happened when she took her life?
Yeah, then of course, after she got the hepatitis C, and had to quit the road, you know, and that's when went out on her own as a soloist. Of course, things were, I think from that point, for her, started to deteriorate and decline. When you're an artist and you are on stage and doing what you love, and then all of a sudden that's taken away from you, and it's a huge shock. I mean, it's just being on stage and getting the accolades from the audience and that kind of energy that comes your way. I mean, it's addictive, and when you have to walk away from it, it can really be painful. And I think that was kind of her decline, as she eventually. I'm really shortening things up. This happened over several years, of course, but she was diagnosed with treatment-resistant depression, you know, just real heavy-duty depression, and she had some bipolar as well. And so, you know, she was just on a constant roller coaster of being normal and then sinking into this awful depression, and it was. You know, we tried everything. She tried every drug that was available, and with her, and she didn't have a lot of patience, so she would try these drugs that would usually work for people, and she'd take them for some drug that you should take for 3 weeks, you know, before it really starts to work. She would take it for like a week and go, "Oh, this isn't working. This is not doing anything for me." Go back to her doctor and. Because of who she was, and she was a nurse, and she was a very smart woman as well. She knew a lot about medicine, because she had thought at one time she was going to go to school to be a doctor, and she studied that all the time. And so she could go into these doctors' offices and talk to them on their level, you know. And so she would say, you know, this is not working for me, and what else do you have? And so they would give her another SSRI, I think is what you call them, you know, for depression, and just nothing ever worked. And you know, and then we had her in several different therapy sessions, and it was a constant search, you know, to find help for her. And in the meantime, you know, she's just deteriorating, just pretty rapidly. Like there at the end, she really went down mentally and physically pretty quick.
It's very sad.
I'm so sorry for your loss. How did you move forward from the devastation? How did you press on? How did you keep going?
You know, at this point. I still am pressing on. I mean, obviously, you know, when that happened, I was in Europe, and she had been with me in Europe. I was doing a tour over there with with a guy named Dennis Gale, from a guy from Austria. And she was with me over there. And she was normal as she could be. But I had to stay for a couple of days, and she had to come back because they were being inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
And so she came back alone. And I talked to her right after she got home. And then that night as well, we talked, and it was a pretty normal conversation. And then the very first morning that she's home alone, she has a major crash, a major mental break.
Wow.
And it was just a matter of a few minutes. Obviously, we had some people with her. She wasn't by herself.
Right.
A friend of mine was with her, and then Ashley was next door. She actually came down to be with her and called the family therapist, and he was on his way. And Ashley went outside to meet him because he had told her he was at the gate. She went out to let him in, which left her by herself for a matter of 2 or 3 minutes. They came back in, and she was gone.
That's terrible.
And I got the call, and I was getting ready to go on stage in Austria, and there's so much I don't remember from that point on. I mean, my knees.
I'm sure.
Yeah, you were numb.
My whole world just started spinning, and here I am, 8 hours of an 8-hour flight away from her, and trying to get home. When something you go through so many different moods, and it's all painful. The disbelief, the shock, and the trauma, and it's when you lose somebody like that, it's bad enough to lose somebody that lays in their bed and you know they're going to go in a minute, a day, or whatever. But to lose someone like that so quickly, that's it's such a trauma and a shock to your brain. It's hard to wade through, and you just have to take you take it a day at a time. And at first, I would fight the grief, and would try to be normal and.
And probably be strong for her daughters. You were probably trying to be strong for them too.
Yeah, well, you try, but it eventually just the grief just overtakes you, and you get you're on this roller coaster of 1 minute you're able to breathe, and the next minute somebody's punched you in the gut, and you can't breathe. You're frozen, and it's hideous. I mean, people that have lost a loved one or spouse to suicide, I mean, we're in a special club.
Yes.
Because if a lot of people lose their spouse, but if the suicide deal puts you in a whole different league, as far as.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because you question yourself. Because I have a friend of mine that is dealing with that every day from her son. And every day, she still questions herself about, did he give us any signs, or, is there something that I said or didn't say, or that would have stopped him? And it's hard. It's just hard for her every day.
I question myself all the time. I think if I had just been there, it wouldn't have happened, And I felt a lot of guilt around that, and still do somewhat. But you have to make a decision to whether you want to continue living or not. You really do. And I totally understand, after going through what I did, I understand why you see so many times that a spouse will die, and in a very short time, the other spouse passes away.
Right.
And it's very understandable, because I found myself just being immobile, sitting in my chair at home for hours on end, and just not even just being unable to move, and didn't want to move. Had no motive to move, or just going in and out of the pain and reliving everything. But I wanted to live. I made that decision, and I do want to live. A lot of my girls, and Ashley and Winona, and I had a lot to live for, and so you just force yourself. You force yourself, on a daily basis to put one step in front of the other and go do things even though you don't want to do them. And then I relied on my friends a lot. I still have some really good friends that were there practically every minute. One or the other, or somebody was with me.
That's beautiful.
24 hours a day. They walked me through a lot of it.
Now, how many years were you married to Naomi?
We were married for like 35 years.
Oh.
But we had been together longer than that, because I met her and the girls when they first came to Tennessee in '79.
Wow.
And so when it was one of those love at first sight kind of things.
Yeah.
And
now the one thing that I love what you said to the audience is you have to keep on living. You have to find things to live for, because I had lost my twin brother, and it was not too long ago. Yours was about 2 years, and mine's a year and a half, and the pain doesn't go away. And because we were in sync with everything we did, we never got married. We were always together. I never knew a day without him. It was very much like we were a married couple. When that person is gone in your life, even though I don't know what it's like to lose somebody to a suicide, I do know what it's like to be shocked because I didn't see it coming. And I blame myself over and over again, thinking, why? I was angry at God for a while. But the thing was, it makes you feel like you're losing a limb. Like you have been, the things of because you're so one. So as a couple, I'm sure that you felt like you needed to find your identity again, but you at least had an identity of your own before you had Naomi. But still, it's your identity were together, wasn't it?
Well, yeah. I mean, we were one, and my whole mindset was, I'm here and I'm with her, and I'm in this house, and this is my life, and it's going to be this way until I die.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, that's cut completely off, and you do have to find yourself again, because that was all my identity, and I would get mad. I'd get angry. Why did you do this to us? Why did you do this to me in such a way, to the girls? And you would go back and forth, from being angry at what happened to being an unbelievable sadness that you can't deal with. So it was these two extremes that you're constantly fighting and trying to find your way through. And I'm not sure I still know who I am.
Larry, what do you think is next for you? What do you see yourself doing next?
Well, I still do some Elvis things. There's Elvis festivals that go on all over the world. And I've been to England. I've been to Italy. I go back to Italy next year. I believe I'm going to Norway next year.
Oh.
I'm doing a cruise, with the whole Elvis thing.
Wow.
And
you're staying busy.
It's pretty
and that
busy.
really is the key too, to keep busy, because or your mind starts wandering again. I was going to ask you if there's anybody out there watching Did you have any warning signs? What would the warning signs be if somebody is concerned about their loved ones?
I did have the warning signs, but I didn't take them seriously because she would say a lot of times she'd say, I just don't want to be here. I don't want to be, it wasn't through some kind of a mental breakdown that she was saying it. It'd be like just a normal laying on the couch and in a soft tone, I don't want to be here. And then sometimes she would talk about up close to where our farm is, there was this real high bridge that a lot of people had jumped from and committed suicide. And every once in a while she said, I think I'm going to the bridge today.
Hmm.
Wow.
And then but then right after that, she would go, no, I can't do that because of you and Ashley went on. I just can't do it. And so, I would accept that. I'd go, should be back and forth. And so I didn't, it wasn't like I was in a panic and going, oh my God, she's really going to do this. That just never occurred to me because I always thought she was the strongest one of us, She was the strong part of me. And she was always so busy, doing her books and writing music and doing speaking engagements and just, we did a lot of traveling. This is after her singing. And had a new tour coming up. So, she had a lot to do and to live for and to look forward to. And the way we were living, and it's never occurred to me that she would really actually do it. I never thought that, but and here again, I was doing everything we could, seeing every professional specialist and people from one end of the country to the other to find help for her depression. She was always looking for that, somebody. She would say somebody out there somewhere has the right combination for me. Has a pill. We wanted to find that pill, that would cure the depression. And so we were constantly in that frame of mind, of always trying to find help and to think about living because of the tour that was coming up, and we were getting inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame. And so the idea that she was at that point and was going to do that was the furthest thing from my mind.
Yes. Thank God that you have your faith, and thank God that I have mine. And people who go through it, I don't know how they get through without their faith. But God looks at the heart of the person, and when the mind gives up or the mind is sick, I thank God that He doesn't judge us on having a sick mind. He's very merciful for all those people. There's so many people dealing with mental illness, but God looks at the heart, and I just want you to know, have hope, because she's waiting for you on the other side. She's cheering you on. She's part of that great cloud of witnesses, and I believe that with all my heart.
Yeah, let me say too that it feels like, it seems like that we're finally starting to look at mental illness, as an illness, and not, just somebody that's out of their head and crazy, and learning new ways. And I'm really happy that it's being taken more seriously, and there's a lot more research and a lot more being done to help find a cure for what she went through.
Amen to that.
Yep, amen.
Maybe that's another part of your walk, and maybe that could be another part of what you're doing that would help heal you, is helping others who are dealing with it. Maybe in the future, I'm going to pray that God gives you wisdom on what you're supposed to do, but I think maybe you can take the steps, because people need to know this mental illness is real. It's not a demonic thing that so many people like to demonize things. It's real, and people need help. It's like a sickness, like cancer or anything else.
Right.
It sure is. It sure is.
Thank you so much, Larry, for being a part of our show. And thank you for bringing hope. And just know that we love you and we're cheering you on all the way.
Yep. It was an honor to have you here today.
Hope to meet you in person one day.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
You let me know when you're in South Carolina.
I'm going to be there quite a bit.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'll come and see
Or
you.
if you're in the Tampa Bay area, we would love to have you there too.
Well, I actually have a home in West Palm
Oh, really?
on Singer Island.
Oh, yes. I know exactly where that is.
You are not going to get rid of us two now.
Yeah. I was just over there, actually. I was just over in West Palm, right before the hurricane hit. Yes.
Really?
And
Well, I've been here I spend most of my time here now. I'll be down there for the winter for sure.
Okay.
well,
Great.
we're about to close, but give Winona and Naomi, not Naomi, Winona and Ashley
Aw.
our love.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
And thank
Yes.
you.
And cherish that picture that's behind you. That's a beautiful picture. I love
Oh
that.
yes,
Yeah.
it's one of my favorites. We were doing a
Favorites.
thing on stage, and so
Gorgeous.
Beautiful couple.
Yes.
Mm.
Thank you.
Well, I'm going to close with a quote saying, "Hope is a gift we give ourselves, and it remains with all when all else is gone."
Thank
Yeah.
you again. God bless you, Larry.
Thank
And
you
we'll talk to you
guys.
soon.
Bye.
Yes,
It was a
thank you.
pleasure.
And thank you all for joining us. Until next time, keep pressing on.
For more information about I Pressed on podcast, visit chrisaugustministries.com. Find out who our next guests will be, as well as airtimes and dates. Please consider making a donation. Your donation helps fund all of the ways we spread God's word and testimony.
Your life was like the perfect song, and you let us sing along. Now you're gone, but your spirit soars in our hearts forevermore. You lived each day with fierce resolve. You shared God's love and hearts evolved. Though you've left, we feel your grace. Echoes linger in this place. Come but not forgotten, no. You showed the way for us to go. A legacy that shines so bright, guiding us through darkest night. Through tear-filled eyes we seek the dawn, strength to stand when hope is gone.